Hey friends, what's up? Ash here, welcome back to Gents. Hope you're doing well. In the world of fragrances, one thing is always constant: hype. There's always gonna be hype, whether it's fragrances from the past that are rediscovered, new releases, cheap fragrances, whatever. There's going to be hype. And sometimes it's warranted, at least in my personal opinion. And of course, you guys are gonna have your own opinions on different fragrances as well. But sometimes you get a hyped fragrance and you go, oh, I totally get it. Other times, maybe not so much. Today, I'm gonna be sharing with you guys 15 different designer fragrances that are hyped or have been hyped that I personally feel deserve it for one reason or another. So hype beasts that are actually worth the hype. All of them are going to be linked in the description. Feel free to check them out down there in no particular order. So the first one I show you isn't like the least worthy of hype or anything like that. I'm just basically going to be grabbing and going as we work through them. I don't even know where to start. I think I'll kick things off with this one, Dior Homme Sport. This is the new iteration of Dior Homme Sport, but probably knowing Christian Dior, in like 2 years, they'll come out with a new Dior Homme Sport. You know how they like to do. Keep the name the same, keep the bottle kind of the same, and then just slap a new year on the end of it. So Dior Homme Sport, it's a little bit similar to Dior Homme 2020. Nice and woodsy, very versatile, easy to wear. A little bit fresher than Dior Homme 2020, which you would expect with the name like Sport. Really classy, smells fantastic, easy to wear. Not at all just a gym fragrance, which I say every time I bring this fragrance up because, you know, with that name, people will sometimes think that if they've never smelled it, they'll think, oh, this is just like a shower gel kind of vibe. No. You can wear this to the office, you can wear this casually, you can wear it in more formal situations. Like I said, great versatility with this. And to be fair, this is more hyped within like the fragrance community, maybe not hyped quite as much with the general public, but it's absolutely worth the hype that it gets. Love this stuff. Before we hop to the next fragrance, here are some codes you can use to save yourself some money. Do pay attention to those new codes that we have there from Beauty House, Fragflex, JOMASHOP, Max Aroma, and others. Yeah, the Beauty House ones are actually brand new. It's a website that has a whole lot of different clones inspired by fragrances, a bunch of stuff there. And sometimes they have things that other stores don't. They got in touch with me and were like, you want a code? And I said, okay. Let's see, next fragrance, let's go with this one. Invictus Parfum. Yeah, Invictus. Once an enemy of mine, but now I actually kind of like it. And by kind of like it, I mean, I do like this. Still hard for me to admit, okay? So Invictus Parfum, it goes back to that original Invictus DNA to an extent, that original style. It's a little bit closer to like Invictus Legend, which is discontinued nowadays. But this one is not quite as sickeningly sweet. It's a little bit classier, slightly more mature, but still has that versatility, that wearability that you would expect from an Invictus fragrance. Also a big compliment puller. It's got a nice little bit of soapiness to it, a clean aspect to it. I love the little change that they've made to the bottle. I think it makes it look a little bit higher end, at least as much a trophy bottle can look high end anyway. And it's just overall a great release, really well done. Gotta go with this one, another Dior Sauvage Elixir. Can't leave that out. Sauvage Elixir is just absolutely fantastic. It really helped kick off the whole Elixir wave that we have been riding. So all the elixirs that came after this one, to an extent, I think, are because of this, at least in terms of naming conventions. They don't smell like Sauvage Elixir, of course. It's just, you know, Sauvage Elixir came out. It was considered like the pinnacle Sauvage fragrance, sold like hotcakes, and then every other brand was like, oh, well, here's our elixir. And some brands were like, here's our elixir. Oh, and here's another elixir. And here's another elixir. Like, they just keep on coming, man. Really, really pleasant, woody, spicy, very masculine, a little bit of a throwback feel to it. You know, it's kind of got like some 80s vibes done in a very modern way. Huge performance, lasts forever, projects like a beast, a great scent for cool weather or for a night out. Also a good compliment puller as well. Okay, next up, Myself, YSL Myself, the Eau de Parfum. Now I know for some people they're gonna be like, oh, Myself sucks, Myself is boring, whatever. I actually really enjoy this, and it's one of those ones that, like, when I first got it in, my fragrance enjoyment factor was here. And then as time went on, it just kept creeping up like a roller coaster. just without the drop. It is fairly simple. White florals are gonna be the main focus here. Orange blossom, it's got a little bit of sweetness to it, very smooth, easy to wear, kind of clean clothing style. This is one of those scents that just gets attention. It gets the job done, gets you noticed, and it's that type of fragrance that you could just leave on your desk. And whenever you go, wherever you go, you can grab this, spray it on, and it's gonna work, which means that a lot of people can get a lot of use out of it, and I do. Also, my wife loves it, so there's that. Lunar Rosa Black, up next from Prada. I absolutely adore Lunar Rosa Black, and this is going to be a fragrance that appeals more to fragrance people, right? Just your average person, they may not go for this one quite as much, but people that are really into fragrances are gonna gravitate toward this more. It has a great, dark, mysterious vibe to it, a nice sweetness, slightly rubbery, and I have to say every time that I say that, it's in a good way. And I know you're like, how can that be in a good way? Smell it, and then you'll know. Another one really well suited for fall and winter time. Nowadays, seems like Prada is mainly just concentrating on Lunar Rosa Ocean. We're not getting, new Lunar Rosa flankers or Prada L'Homme or a new line or anything. Hopefully next year that changes. So for now, Lunar Rosa Black sticks out in a big way, and for as long as this is around, I'm still gonna be hyping it because I love it. Let's go with Missoni Wave next. Missoni Wave gets a lot of hype because, well, it's cheap. That's one of the main reasons. Also, a compliment puller, versatile, easy to wear, and it's cheap. I already said that. But that never hurts, right? When you can pick up a fragrance for less than 40 bucks and sometimes right around 30, that's a pretty good thing, especially with everything being more expensive nowadays, and that carries over to fragrances as well. A lot of new releases are crazy expensive. Having the ability to get something that's really great quality for a low price is a good thing. So this is a fresh aquatic fragrance. Obviously, you know that by the name Wave, kind of similar to Chanel Allure Homme Sport or Versace Pour Homme. Actually kind of splits the difference between the two. Just another one that smells fantastic. A compliment puller, like I said, easy to wear. Nothing to hate there. All right, this next one, I thought about not putting in just because it's difficult to find. It's very expensive. It's the one Luminous Night. The reason I did include it is because there is a lot of hype behind this one, and it is warranted. But that's also a bad thing because the hype is warranted, and then you try to find it, and it's crazy expensive. It's very rarely available at discounters in the US, very rarely. And when it is, it sells out pretty quick, which means you have to try to buy it at like eBay or something like that, and people are gonna be charging just ludicrous amounts of money. So, kind of sucks. Fragrance itself though, a banger, a banger. It walks that line of giving you something extremely appealing while also smelling unique, which is actually more difficult than it sounds, trust me. See all those little bottles back there? That's me trying to do something like that. Not that smells like that, but something that's unique, but also really appealing. It's not easy. It has a wonderful note of dates in there, gives it a very interesting sweetness. You have a little bit of smokiness that comes through. It's a sexy fragrance. It commands attention. It's worth a jacked up price, just not as jacked up as you're usually gonna see it. Let's go back to Paco again. Invictus again. This time, Victory Elixir. Victory Elixir, one of my favorites. This is close to a perfect, fizzy, sweet vanilla fragrance, at least to my own taste. It's a little reminiscent of other things out there. It's got bits and pieces of stuff like the Le Beau line from Jean Paul Gaultier, maybe even bits of Pure Excess, which was also Paco Rabanne. During fall and winter time, this stuff is absolutely stunning. Great performance. Another one that's a huge compliment puller. Smells great. Like on a night out, that stuff is killer. And when you catch whiffs of it in the air, that stuff is magic. Love Invictus Victory Elixir. Oh man, we still got a bunch to go. Up next, let's go with Coral Fantasy. Technically Valentino Uomo Born in Roma Coral Fantasy. The name is long. Now, my very favorite from this line is Born in Roma Uomo Intense, if we're talking about the Born in Roma line. But this one gets just as much hype as Womo Intense, if not a little bit more. And usually I would feature Womo Intense, so I decided to put Coral Fantasy in here instead, you know, feature that one. It has a fantastic mix of red apple and tobacco. So it does have like this fresh, kind of crisp sweetness off the top, and that warms up a little as it dries down. It's really a perfect fragrance for year-round use. It's gonna be best suited probably for spring and fall, you know, those kind of tweener seasons, transitional seasons, but you can wear this during summer or winter as well. So that is Coral Fantasy. That was a sloppy catch. Coral Fantasy. Up next, let's go with this one, Reserve Privé. I love the Gentleman line of fragrances, especially this one, the Eau de Parfum, Boisé, Eau de Toilette, and just all of them pretty much. But I'm a sucker for iris and fragrances, and this is one of the best ones out right now. So you get a little bit of that creamy feel from iris, not too makeup-y, but you get, you know, a touch of that. It's also got woods, has whiskey, chestnut in there. Makes it a perfect fall fragrance, also very good for winter as well. Just the right amount of sweetness. It keeps it very classy, sexy, cozy. It's got like a magnetic feel to it. Really good for date nights. It's a wonderful fragrance. And for those of you out there who maybe don't like iris too much, you know, your Dior Homme Intense, Valentino Uomo Intense, stuff like that, something like this might work a little better for you because it has that iris, right? But it's got all those other supporting notes that are actually kind of equivalent with the iris. So it takes a little bit of that focus off of the creamy makeup-y aspect. So there's 10, 5 more to go. The most wanted Eau de Parfum Intense. You could also go with the Parfum version of the most wanted, but I'm gonna stick with this one right here. Massively successful. This is, I can't take the cap off. This is, as of right now, Azzaro's best-selling men's fragrance. This style of fragrance, very popular right now. That kind of sweet, warm, almost like tiptoeing towards gourmand style of scent. That's what this is. Really nice performance. Another one that in the air smells even better than up close. Another one that's a big compliment puller, very sexy. Also doesn't cost that much money at full retail, which is another thumbs up. I'm not saying it's really cheap. It's just cheaper than some of the more pricey things out there. It dibbles and dabbles in that stronger with you, Jean Paul Gaultier scandal kind of wheelhouse, and I think it's actually extremely well done. Then we got YSL Parfum from Yves Saint Laurent up next. Also the Eau de Parfum, I love that one. Actually, it's another line where I like most of them. I'm not gonna just list off like 80% of the line. So we'll just stick to Le Parfum. So this has some of that sweetness from the Eau de Parfum, Y Eau de Parfum. And once again, another fragrance that people go crazy for. This one is a little bit slightly more mature than Y Eau de Parfum, maybe a little more dark, just again, ever so slightly. It's still pretty close. It's just like, you know, you've taken the levels and adjusted them a little bit. It still has great versatility, like you would expect, but it does lean a little more toward fall and wintertime use than Y Eau de Parfum does. And also it would be a fragrance that maybe is a little more easy to wear in formal situations than Y Eau de Parfum, but you can still wear this casually as well. It is expensive, so that is a potential drawback, but the fragrance itself is just a fantastic tweak and change of a sweet blue fragrance made ever so slightly classier, more sophisticated. Then we've got Le Beau Paradise Garden from Jean Paul Gaultier. I really love this one of my favorite releases of the year so far, and I do want to spray that one. Really sweet, tropical fresh as well. Quite green, as you would expect by the look of the bottle there. Good amount of coconut and fig in there, some aquatic notes, touch of mint as well. Used to be really difficult to find, but Jean Paul Gaultier fragrances have been getting easier to pick up in the US, both at discounters and at full retail, so that's another positive. And this is one that I just fell in love with the first time I smelled it. The original Le Beau Eau de Toilette and Le Beau Le Parfum, at least in their current iteration. Those took me a little while longer to come around to really like, and now I love them. This one was just love at first sniff. Paradise Garden, got to include that one. After that, we'll do Hero Eau de Parfum. Now earlier with this one, Dior Homme Sport, I said, you know, it's a little more hyped within like the fragrance community as compared to the general population. This one kind of reversed, a little more hyped in general than in the fragrance community. But Hero Eau de Parfum is really, really good. And as of right now, this is my favorite from the Hero line. It has that woodiness, that masculine woodiness from the original Hero Eau de Toilette, but things are slightly sweeter here. Has kind of a resinous undertone to the fragrance, which makes it a little bit more interesting, gives it more boldness. It's got a little bit of sweetness, but not too much. So it's not going, you know, overboard with that. It's not bashing you over the head with syrupy, sugary sweets. It's masculine, it's sexy, it's classy, it's easy to wear, decently smooth as well. The performance is just right. And last but not least, Bleu de Chanel Parfum. So I was like, I gotta put in one from each of the big blue fragrance lines, the big three, right? So Sauvage, Y, and Bleu de Chanel. And I thought about putting Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum in here, which is also really stonking good, but went with the Parfum. Obviously gonna be the most expensive of the Bleu de Chanel, so there is that. But that's just so darn classy for a blue fragrance that is really, really well done. It's got kind of an elegance to the fragrance. I mean, it smells like you're wearing a suit when you smell that. You could be in jeans and a t-shirt and it's just like elevated. Just the perfect amount, a blend of woodiness, a little smooth, fruity sweetness to lead you in to the dry down. And it's just immediately attention grabbing. You could question, again, maybe if the price is worth it to you for a blue fragrance, but if price doesn't matter too much and you just want the most elegant, sophisticated, high-class smelling designer blue fragrance, it's probably that one. So there we go, guys. There are 15 fragrances that have gotten a lot of hype over the years that I personally feel are worth the hype, that to me, do it and do it right. Some of them I loved right away. Some of them I came around to love, but you really can't go wrong with pretty much everything right here. At least for me, my own taste. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Stay safe out there and let me know a very hyped, maybe even overhyped fragrance that you personally feel deserves that level of hype. Stay safe out there, guys. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.